Hello and welcome. This is a video that's been produced by Cardijn College, and as you can see in the title, it is a quick start guide for parents on setting up an Edmodo account. Now Edmodo is something that we use very heavily in Cardijn College, particularly in the middle school, and it is a social media networking site for teachers and students. Unlike things like Facebook or Twitter, it's not for socializing, even though we mentioned it is a social networking site. It is in fact more for the distribution of learning materials and the management of teaching and learning in the Cardijn community. What we have is a number of teachers who, rather than giving out printed off pieces of paper, instead upload resources and due dates or assignment sheets or anything like that onto an online community, and of course our students are then able to access that. What we'd like to do, however, is to extend that community, and this invitation is for parents who would like to be involved, who can actually join the community by entering a code and setting up their own profile, and that's really what this video is all about. So of course the first thing that you're going to need to join the community is a code, and it's more likely that the teacher would give you this code, though you can certainly get it off of the student profile, but in this case we've created a fake teacher and we've created a fake student to illustrate and simulate the way that you can set up your own profile. So if I move on here, you'll notice that we've got a parent code, which is just a random sequence of letters and numbers. They're all different and they're all specific to each student. Now in this case you can see it's EYAXQ3, and using this I'm going to start to create my first profile. So if I move out of this presentation and just jump into a browser, in this case I'm using Google Chrome, which is a really good browser particularly for Edmodo. You might find some difficulty in something like Internet Explorer with some functions, so if you haven't got this browser, this might be a good place to start. And you can notice here what I've got is the opening screen for Edmodo. Now to get to this website I've just typed in www.edmodo.com. Alternatively, I could just do a Google search for Edmodo and it'll come up. It's the first link. So it's quite a popular website and it's fairly easy to get to. Now, in order to sign up, you'll notice that down here is where I've got the different options. Now, in this case, I'm not a teacher, I'm not a student, but if you go down in the small print here, you can see that there's some text that says I'm a parent. And if I click on that, you'll notice that the first thing it's asking me for is that parent code. So I could type it in, but I'm actually going to cheat and go across to my previous document, and I'm just going to copy paste this. Depending on how you get it, it might be in an email, it might be written down in the child's diary, it could be given to you on a piece of paper at a parent interview, anything like that. But I've put in the code, and that's the most important thing. Obviously I get to select my relation in this case, and you could actually use the same code for mum and for dad, so it doesn't matter. If you have multiple profiles for the same code, that's fine. In this case I'm specifying relationship. Maybe to save myself some time I might just click one of the available ones. In this case, because I'm creating a false profile, I'm just calling this Cardijn Parent, but of course it does help if you do put your name in there and the teacher can actually see that you're observing the class, and that again really helps with communication. I also need to put in an email address. So in this case I've actually created just a fake email address, so please don't send anything to this because it's not going to be checked anytime soon, but I've just created one called cardijparent@hotmail.com. Obviously it does need an email address, so that is a really important thing to make sure that you put in, but there's some great settings that allow you to actually receive updates whenever something else happens. I'm just going to create my own password, and you'll of course do the same. Make sure you write it down so you don't forget, and I just need to click on the agreement for terms of services and then sign up. So once I've logged into my parent account, this is essentially what I'm going to see. I'm going to see all of the students that I'm looking at. In this case, the student's name is Cardijn because their full name is Cardijn Student, and I can see all of the teachers that they have. In this case, there's only one, which is Mr. Cardijn Teacher, and there might be 4 or 5 different teachers here. And another interesting thing is, if you are given multiple, let's say you have multiple students at Cardijn, you can actually add another student by just clicking up here and entering another parent code. So it is possible to actually have multiple students, and you can click on that student to see what they're doing. Now, If we look at this screen, you can see it's fairly self-explanatory. It tells you all the latest posts that have come up. You can see that the teacher has recently posted something to say there's a science test today, and I wonder if the student would have told us that. We've got assignments due, we've got late assignments, new grades, upcoming events, and these all light up depending on what information is actually available to the student at the time. So there's some really handy stuff there. I can also go to that student and I can look specifically at their grades. Now, not all teachers will necessarily update grades fully, but you can see here I can actually see what's happening in English, mathematics and science, and students sometimes might receive particular badges. It depends a little bit on the teacher, but I can see my student, I can see that they've actually written on things and all of this stuff, and you'll notice that all the information is only located to my student, so I can't see what other people are doing, I can't see what other students are posting, but it allows me to keep track. Now, a really handy tool to look at is if I go up into the corner here and look at this planner, this allows me to see what work is due when. Now, this is really vital, particularly if you're the type that might have had that day, which I think we all have, where the student says, I don't have any homework or I don't have anything that needs to be done. I can see here by clicking this and looking at the week perspective that actually on Wednesday this week there's a science worksheet due. So I could actually say, can you tell me a little bit about this assignment? Now, they might say that they've already done it, but I can actually click on this and it gives me a bit more information. In this case, I can see what the student's done, so read the attached assignment and write a 100-word summary. Okay, here's the attachment. So just in case the student ever says, oh, I don't have the sheet, you can actually download it and look at it yourself. It also tells me whether or not the student has turned it in. In this case, the student actually has turned it in, so that's a handy thing, and I can look at it and this is the student's work. Okay, I can click on this and this is my assignment and there's the attachment, so I can actually see what's happening there. And if the student was to receive a grade for that, it would turn up in this turned in section. So as you can see, it's a fairly simple interface to use, but there's a lot that you can actually look at. You can of course find out some information about the teacher. In this case, you can find out where they are and student and different connections, and they might have some information there which you're welcome to have a look at. And similarly, the students create their own profile as well. And so you can certainly experiment with some of these bits and pieces, but hopefully if you're able to access this area, you're able to engage a little bit more with what's happening with your child's learning, what assignments are due, what grades are coming out, and also upcoming events within the school. So hopefully, if you are able to get access to that parent code and follow these simple steps, you've got your own Edmodo Parent account which you can be signing into throughout the year, and we really encourage parents to be involved in the learning of our students. Should you need any further information about this, you're welcome to contact the school. You can contact specific teachers via email if you would like to get hold of a parent code. Otherwise, you can contact the middle school team. Thank you very much.